Hey everyone, welcome to this video and thank you for following along my Great Divide Trail Through Hike series. This video and a couple other ones after it are going to be about the gear I used on that trail. Now, as you see these videos, just wanted to keep in mind that I hiked the trail in 2023 and these videos were filmed in 2024, so some of the gear that I'll be talking about has newer versions of it, better versions of it out now. So just keep that in mind when you're watching this, but I still thought it would be good to put this out just to kind of close the loop on this Through Hike series. So thanks for watching.
Let's go. Woo! Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be going through my Great Divide Trail through hiking gear list. And what, kind of started with different things I swapped in. We'll start off with the sleeping pad. So this is the Nemo Tensor long wide, so 6.5 feet long, but 25 inches wide with an R value, I believe, of 4.2. This sleeping pad kept me warm pretty much most nights. It's not the most comfortable sleeping pad out there, but it was, in my mind, the right mix of warmth to weight. So, it's not probably as good as the Thermarest X Lite, but it still is just about as light as that sleeping pad. And hence why I decided to go with this one. Plus I already owned it and didn't really want to spend more money on one. You can see here, I actually did get a little hole in it here, and that was actually my own doing. When I was taping my feet for blisters in my tent, I dropped my little scissors and put a hole in it myself. So other than that, it was great, and nothing wrong with this pad. Also part of the sleep system is my Outdoor Vitals 1/8 inch foam pad. As you can tell, this thing's been through the ringer. It's all patches essentially from my through hike just to keep it together. This thing was great. I would take this again. I love it. It's like 20 inches wide by, I believe, 60 inches long. Not the full length of the pad, but I would use this to space out the backpack from my back because of that frame issue I was having on the backpack, but also, good sit pad to, stretch on at the end of the long day, and also to put underneath the pad, the sleeping pad, for extra protection. So great piece. Would 100% take this again, or maybe take a newer one, because this thing's been beat up pretty good, but I love this thing. Next up is my Enlightened Equipment Enigma quilt. This is the 10-degree Fahrenheit version, minus 12 Celsius. So this thing weighs about 1.5 pounds. I'll put the exact weight on the screen. Most people will go with like the 20, but I went with the 10 just because I am a cold sleeper and wanted that extra warmth. Still went with like a super light configuration from Enlightened Equipment. So this is the 7D shell fabric. So I had this custom made, so the 7D orange on the underside and the 7D blue on the top. And I believe this is a wide as far as size goes, which is about as narrow as I can go and still be comfortable. I have a 20-degree quilt that's a size, that's wider, which is a little bit nicer, but this is a good mix of warmth to movability, and I feel like this is a good length for me. I wouldn't want to go, this is just something I've realized, I wouldn't go any narrower than this if you're using a 25-inch wide sleeping pad, because you are going to have a hard time getting this snap closed. Like, I can't actually get both snaps done up if I have this connected to the sleeping pad because of the distance here. So because this is so far over and this has to come so much more, it's not there's not enough material to do it. So I would, just keep that in mind when you're buying a quilt. If you're getting a 20-inch pad, I think you'll be fine, but a little bit of limitation there. But love this thing. It dried out really well and kept me warm most nights. It got condensation and moisture buildup in it just like anything else, but I found when it dried, it didn't leave clumps in the down. And this is obviously, I got the 950 fill down, so super high quality down, but I love their quilts, make great stuff. Next on the list is the pillow that I use. So this is the Trekology 2.0 pillow. It's not the most comfortable pillow out there, but it is one of the most comfortable pillows I've used as a backpacking pillow. It works way better than a stuff sack shoved under your head. It's still pretty light. Not the lightest pillow out there, but cheap. 25 bucks I think I paid for this. So Canadian, around probably 20 bucks US. pretty cheap, can't complain, no holes. You can still, it's a little dirty here from all the nights I've slept on it, but great little pillow, no issues with it. All right, so the tent behind me here is the Dan Durson X-Mid Pro 2. It is my favorite tent I think I've ever used. It is technically a 2-person tent. I use it as a single for most of this trip. It's a little narrow for a double. It's not, you can't fit two 25-inch wide sleeping pads in it like you can in the X-Mid 2, like the regular one, which I also have, and I love that tent. But this one you can't quite. So we did manage to get a 25-inch wide sleeping pad and a 20 in here for part of the trip when a friend of mine joined me for a bit, and it was really tight. We didn't want to carry the extra weight though, so still glad we did it for those 4 or 5 nights that we needed it. But fantastic tent. I love the magnetic closures on the door. Can't complain about that. I think they're now adding magnetic closures to this part, which is great. Though I don't mind a little bungee piece that holds it. It's works good enough. And usually in the summer here when you're backpacking, you don't really want to open your screen up and leave it open because there's tons of bugs. And so it's more like get in, get out as quick as you can. Another thing I really liked about this tent, and I'll give a better close-up shot of this, is that it has the 2 zippers. So one going up and one going down. And I actually like this. I know it's 2 zippers now, so one more thing to fail potentially. So maybe there's that. But one thing I really liked about this is what I could do with this is if I needed to get in here, I didn't want to take my shoes off, I just wanted to get in the tent and do some stuff to keep my feet outside, I could kneel down and then zip this down and my feet could stick out here and I could zip it here. So now just my feet are sticking out and bugs still really aren't getting in the tent. So I actually really like that and use that all the time when I use this tent. So, you know, sometimes I'll be setting up my sleep system, but I don't want to take my shoes off to get in there because I just want to set up my sleep system and then go eat. So this was really nice to have this ability to do that. Again, something I didn't really realize feature until I got it, but I use that all the time. 2 vents, 1 on each side, which is great. 2 vestibules by yourself, probably overkill to have 2 vestibules, but it is technically a 2-person tent, so I get why there's 2 vestibules. But it is kind of nice that it's asymmetrical in the sense that really either side you can sleep on. So if I pitch it and it's like, oh no, my head needs to be this way, well, it doesn't really matter because they're, you know, it's the same on either side kind of idea. So now for the backpack, or shall we say backpacks. And any of you who've watched my videos on my Great Divide Trail through hike will know what I'm talking about. So first of all, I'm going to start off with the pack that I started the hike with, which is the Z-Packs Arc Haul. This is the 60-liter version. It's only about 42, I think, or 43 internal. It is a super lightweight pack for being what it is. It's supposed to be able to carry 40 pounds. I think I put 32, 33 pounds in this, and it carried it very comfortably, sort of. So I say sort of because I'll get to why in a second. But if I put, so this is how I usually would pack my pack. I use this now from pack liner. I don't use a rain cover, and then I'll just stuff my quilt in. Obviously roll my sleeping mat up, put that in there. And then all my sleeping stuff and layers I don't really need till camp, like emergency layers, insulated layers would go in here. And then I would twist that up, stuff it down the side. That's all what I use to waterproof my gear. I think I might have went through a couple, like 1 or 2 of these. I swapped them out, but I might have used the same one the whole trip. Now this pack is really lightweight for what it is. It's made of Ultra 200 fabric, which is strong, but also really light and pretty waterproof. This pack's not waterproof because there's like seams and everything, but pretty water resistant. But again, I use this for waterproofing the stuff that can't get wet. So the rest just goes in. This backpack, I had a few things added, like some straps here, little ice axe loop here. The big issue with this pack I had on the Great Divide Trail specifically though was the padding on the back. So this part here, there's not really a lot of padding, and this would rub on my back, and by day 4, it actually caused an open wound and it started to get infected. At the end of the trip, it was very painful. I didn't realize how bad it was until I got back to the town of Coleman, looked in a mirror and was like, oh boy, this isn't good. So I actually packed this pack the day I was gonna leave for section B and put it on, and even with like extra stuff, is like, this isn't gonna work. So I ditched this pack and I went to a different pack, which I will show you next. All right, so this is the Outdoor Vitals Shadowlight 60-liter pack. This is made from like aerobic kind of material that they kind of helped, you know, develop, I believe. but it's a little bit heavier than the other one. It's about 2 pounds, but I had to go to this because that one wasn't working for my back. This one works a lot better because of the padding here. What's nice is this foam pad can actually come out. You can use it as a sit pad, which I definitely did do. But another big issue I had with this pad was the frame. So on this thing, there's not a really great design in my opinion on the frame piece. The frame ends up coming through and punching essentially through the little piece of fabric that hold it in, and then it'll start digging into your back. So I had tried to have it fixed, but the frame punched right through the patches to fix it. I started digging into my back again on the trail. So what I had to actually do is take my 1/8 inch foam pad, shove it in here to hold the backpack away from my back, which isn't great for weight distribution and weight carrying. So now the weight's, you know, pulling you back a bit more, and it puts a lot more pressure on your shoulders because now the frame isn't doing its job. Now I still kept the frame in because I felt like it was better with than without. So it's still doing something, just not what I wanted it to be doing. So I'm not a huge fan of either of the packs honestly used on this trail, but it got the job done. And it's a decent pack. If they fix the frame issue, I think this backpack would be one of my favorite backpacks, especially in the price range it's at. But one important thing I want to talk about was these shoulder straps. And I had these on both backpacks. This is the Chicken Tramper one, and this would fit my 750 Smart Water bottle very well. It also fit the 1 liter, it sticks up a bit, but you know, they're really good. Love this thing. Then on the other side, it would carry my bear spray to keep that handy at all times, and my little tripod thing for filming the videos and whatnot. So this is the Hyperlight one. It's a bit stretchy. I'm not sure if I love it yet, but it worked well for me on this hike, and I don't regret taking it. So, all right, the next thing I want to talk about is clothing. So what I have here is the Outdoor Research Astroman Sun Hoodie. I absolutely love this shirt. This is made out of pretty much nylon, so it's very durable. From what I've seen, like more durable than just a polyester, and it's really nice and cool to hike in. And it's UFPF 50 rated, so it's really good for blocking the sun. So in my videos, I'll hike it a lot like this because it helps keep, you know, the sun off you and in those really hot days. Also a little bit of warmth in the cold mornings. And then the zipper on it is like, whatever, but love this one. There's a blue one as well that I wore, but that got torn on my hike up to the Michelle Lakes area on day 1 of section E. So I ended up having to switch to this just because I was getting really bad burn on here, but I love the Astroman Sun Hoodie. This is the 2023 version, which is a different fit than the 2024 version. The 2024 version fit isn't very good. I have to go all the way up to an extra large, whereas here I'm in a large, so I don't really like the 2024 version, so I'm trying to figure out what to do for that. But for this hike, love this shirt. We'll continue to keep using it for many, many hikes. So this is the other Astroman Sun Hoodie that I used from Outdoor Research. You can see here it got a big rip in it. I still love this shirt. I still think the durability is great. I'd used this for a couple of seasons prior to actually taking on the Great Divide Trail, so it already had some use. So I think it would have lasted the entire thru hike had it been brand new out of the box, but you know, but that's good. So I ended up using these two, but love this shirt. Now for pants, I use the Outdoor Research Feroci pants. I absolutely love these hiking pants. I've been using nothing but these hiking pants for most of my backpacking, most of my hiking. I have 3 different pairs of these, and I just love them. So I'm a pants guy, I'm not really a shorts guy. That's just me. I started the trail originally with these ones here. So they're the exact same as ones I'm wearing, but they don't have the zippers. So they're just full length, no zipper pant, and they were great, and I love these. But when I decided to switch, they did get a few holes in them and whatnot, but at the end of section E, I decided to go with these. I actually ended up getting these brought to me on the skyline there from a friend, and like, because everything was just soaked and these were dry, and I put them on, and I wore these for the rest of the trail after that. But I actually found the zipper part to be quite handy, especially in the last section where everything's so boggy. This part, and with all the river crossings, this part would get very wet. And it was really nice to get into camp and be able to zip these off when I got into my tent and hang up these to try to dry them out, and then zip them back on. The downside to that is there's a zipper, so that's a point of failure. If that fails, all of a sudden now you have that part exposed. So, you know, that's the downside, but I do love the zip versions as well. And this is what I wore for the remainder of the thru hike after I switched to them. All right, next we're gonna talk about footwear. So wearing the Ultra Olympus 5s. These are this is the shoe that I wore on the entirety of this through hike. Obviously not one pair. I actually went through 4 different pairs on this through hike. I love these shoes. They're the shoe that fits my foot the best. Shoes are very personal preference things, so you got to find the shoe that works for you. I finally found a shoe that really works for me. The biggest downside to these is the durability isn't great. The fact that I had to go through 4 of these, I'm not too happy about that. But I love this shoe. These are actually this is a brand new pair, this isn't one of the pairs, but love the shoe. It's not waterproof. I did that on purpose because I wanted it to be able to breathe. So, and then socks. All right, so socks were an interesting one on this trip because I started off with like the Injinji toe socks. I ended up getting massive blisters on my feet, which I don't usually get blisters, so it was a change for me. And so I ended up getting out of those. You end up putting on Darn Toughs socks, still had lots of blisters and whatnot. And I ended up, when I picked up another pair of shoes on my resupply, I ended up picking up these socks here, which are like a right sock, and they're the Cool Mesh 2 extra large. And what these are is it's actually a sock, and it has a liner inside of it. So it's like a double layer sock to try to help prevent blisters. I think it helped a little bit. I still had blisters and had to tape a lot and everything, but I kind of put it on and it seemed to work better than anything else I was using, so I kept using these. The biggest downside to these socks is they're not durable. You can see here, I believe I wore out 3 different pairs on my trip, which isn't great, whereas a Darn Tough pair would have lasted me the entire trip. So I wouldn't really recommend these, but they got me through my through hike. So if you love them and you're willing to spend a few more dollars to get you through your through hike and you love these, buy them, but they're not very durable. What I'm probably going to do in the future is try a couple other Darn Tough ones. I want to try their synthetic one, just a little bit quicker drying and whatnot, I'm hoping, than the merino. So might check that out, but this is the socks I ended up using while I was hiking. All right, rainwear. So what did I take for rainwear on this trip? I took a cheap pair of Decathlon rain pants. I think these cost me about 25 bucks, and they're pretty lightweight, and I really like them, and I will continue to use these. They're not the most durable pants, they're not the most waterproof pants, but I don't wear rain pants a lot, and when I do, I want something that's light. I don't want to spend a lot of money on them. Again, I don't use them that much. And if they get torn up a bit, I just want to be able to repair them. Like if I'm wearing a $300 pair of rain pants, I tear that, I'm not having a good day. So I did get one kind of bigger tear, but in them here, nothing crazy. Tape that up with some tenacious tape or whatever and keep using them. They're very minimalistic. There's no pockets. It's an elastic waist with like a bit of a drawstring for it as well, so you can tie them up. There was a tag on it. I cut the tag out for weight. They are seam taped, so I need to re-waterproof them, but great for this, and I would take these again. All right, rain jacket. So this is the Alight Equipment Visp rain jacket. I picked this one because it's really lightweight, but it also fits me very, very well. It's long enough in the back for me, which is nice. A little long on the arms, but it has the Velcro cuffs here to keep them up. And it has pit zips, which was, I did want a jacket with pit zips. And so that is big in my opinion. So love this piece. So I didn't end up taking this jacket through the entire hike. I ended up switching out for a different jacket, which I'll show you in a minute. And the main reason is because I wore this right before I hit Skyline there on section E, and it went through the really terrible freezing rain period, a lot of bushwhacking, and this just, it doesn't stay waterproof, it wets out, which all rain jackets do, but this one wets out pretty quick in that bushwhack, type of scenario, and when it's almost freezing, you get really cold. So it's a great jacket, and I love this jacket. I don't regret buying this jacket, and I would take this jacket on a through hike again. But if I knew I was gonna do a pile of willow whacking, I probably would take something a little bit more robust. If I don't have bushwhacking involved in the through hike, I would definitely 100% take this jacket again. It's great, and I really do like it. But now I'll show you the jacket I ended up switching to, but didn't end up using too much, but I'll show that one next. All right, so the jacket I ended up switching to for rain jacket for sections E and F was the Arc'teryx Beta SV. Now this is not a lightweight jacket by any stretch of the imagination, but after being freezing cold in that freezing rain on Section E, I was like, I don't care, I'm taking it. Funny thing, never really got any rain for those 10 days, so didn't end up putting it on once. Obviously this jacket is really good rain jacket. It has pit zips and whatnot and everything like that, but I think this jacket was like $800. I don't make this one anymore actually, but I wouldn't recommend buying this for a through hike. It's just what I had and I knew it was durable. All right, mid layers. So we're gonna talk about the mid layers I brought on this trail. So when I first started the trail, this was the only mid layer I brought. And this is the Senshi Designs, quarter zip piece. This is a 60, I believe. And it's a good piece. It's really lightweight. It's like that Alpha Direct material. So I didn't get it with the hood. I just have so many jackets with the hood. I was like, oh, let's not get a hood. I kind of regret that. I wish it had a hood. You kind of see, it's really nice, has the elastics. It's a nice piece. The big issue with this one is that you can't really hike in it in the Canadian Rockies too much. And it's because there's a lot of bushwhacking involved. And I feel like hiking in this, you just tear it up. So I actually didn't bring it for the purposes of hiking in it. I brought it for the purposes of wearing at camp and sleeping in as kind of a mid layer. So the issue I ran into was that I was actually cold in some of the mornings getting hiking, especially later on in the trail, and wanted something more than just my base layer to hike in. So this one ended up getting switched out in Jasper as well for the Outdoor Vitals Ventus hoodie. This is the Outdoor Vitals Ventus hoodie. I really like this piece. This is a really good mid layer, synthetic insulation. It has perforated arms. And the reason why I switched to this over the Senshi is because this is a lot more durable of a hoodie. I would bushwhack with this happily, and it's really, really good, and it's pretty durable for what it is. It is heavier, obviously, but I wanted something, and it has a hood, haha, like my hoods. So it is something that I could wear while hiking in the mornings, which I did quite a bit. I did hike quite a bit in this in the mornings because it just is that good. So I switched to this. Would I take this again? I probably would. I probably would take this one again, just because of hiking in the early mornings. You know, if it was a longer through hike, maybe switch it out when I get into colder sections and whatnot, but I like this piece. So I like it for hiking. It's a good insulative piece for mid layer. All right, now on to insulative jackets. So this is the Enlightened Equipment Torrid. This is a really cool piece. I had this one custom made. It's a full zip, like the zip. Obviously has the hood, not the helmet compatible hood, but nonetheless, it has the 7 denier inner fabric and 10 denier on the outside. I could have went with the 7, but I really like the red, so I went with 10. Was it an ounce or an ounce and a half heavier? Yes, but I really like the red. So went with that. It's honestly a good jacket. I don't think it's as warm as some of the down jackets I have used. One thing really nice about this is what works well with the Visp is actually designed to fit underneath the Visp, even though they're the same size, and Light Equipment's really good with designing their jackets in that way. It has the pockets here, which is really great, keeping your hands warm. And that's the only 2 pockets it has, but it's a great piece. Now, I didn't end up carrying this on the entire trip. I actually ended up switching out for a different insulative jacket for sections F and G, and I will show that one next, which is probably one of my favorite jackets on this trip. All right, so this is the Rab Neutrino Down Pro jacket. This is a beast of a down jacket. This is a winter jacket. This is the jacket that I take ski touring in the winter time. This jacket is extremely overkill for anything in the summer, and I would not recommend you go out and buy this jacket for the summer. But after being really cold with the freezing rain and everything, I just wanted to make sure I was not going to be cold for the rest of the trip. And this is the jacket I had. And I was like, I'm taking this jacket versus taking like 2 downs. I'm like, this is, I think, about 16 ounces. It's not the lightest down jacket out there, but it's pretty good for the warmth it gives. And so this is what I swapped out to after Jasper. And I don't regret it. This was one of my favorite pieces on the entire trail. I wore this almost every morning and every evening while getting ready and did not regret bringing it one time. if I were to go and buy gear for a trail, I probably wouldn't buy this jacket. I'd probably try to find something not quite this heavy, something a little bit lighter. It doesn't have to be quite this warm, but this is what I took the last couple sections, and I absolutely loved it. It is such a warm jacket. It is so fantastic. So yeah. All right, so a couple honorable mentions I wanted to say that did make an appearance on the Great Divide Trail, but for a short time, was this Decathlon Trek 100 down jacket. It's a good jacket. I had my friend bring it to me there for Skyline when I was really cold, and I just had had him bring that up, so I did use it for a couple of days, but obviously didn't carry this the whole trail, and probably wouldn't still carry something like this. It's not quite light enough for this in my opinion, but still a great, fantastic jacket and a really good budget jacket. I think like $100, so really good. And then this was the Outdoor Research Echo hoodie, which I also had my friend brought me, and Jasper wore that for a couple of days because my other one was ripped. Here, the blue one, and it was soaked. So yeah, I ripped and had a bad sunburn, so I was happy to hike in this for a couple days, but obviously swapped it out for another one of these just because these are so much more durable, the Astroman Sun hoodies for bushwhacking and stuff, and the Echo is not really that durable, but great piece for like mountaineering and winter stuff, being the 100% polyester. All right, now we're gonna talk underwear. So I wore two pairs of underwear, brought two pairs of underwear on this trip. One here is the Sax, and this is like the sports one with a really long inseam here, which I really like because I don't get chafing. And I also wore the Exfisio one here, and this is a 9-inch inseam, and I've had this one I think ever since I started backpacking, and I did wear it on this trip, and I would alternate these. I still found I had rubbing though and whatnot, so I actually ended up using some Body Glide to combat that, and that worked perfectly. So, but these are the pairs of underwear I used. Would use these again. This one's getting a bit worn out, so I actually have a newer pair of this one, but both good pieces and would recommend. For the tent stakes on this trip, I used the MSR Groundhog stakes, the big ones, not the minis, the regulars. I really like these stakes. I've used them for several years now. It's really the only stake I really like so far. They are not cheap, but I took 8 of these. So you only need 4 to pitch the Exped Pro 2, but I would usually always put one on each door to kind of stake it out, and then I would also put one on the sides here as well with a little bit of cordage. And so that's what I would take. I would take 8, and then I actually found a little stake at one of the campsites here, a big 8 stakes, and I just picked it up and kind of took that as my spare, I guess. But I felt like having the 8 was good enough. If I had cordage, if I needed to tie down the tops, I could, and sacrifice the stakes somewhere else, like on the sides, if it was in that desperate of weather. But I only took 8, and I carried them in this Alms Right stake sack, which is a little Dyneema stake sack. Really great. What I really like about this one is it has the wide opening at the top. You can see the tapered down, but the wide opening stakes go in quite nicely, and I really like it. All right, this is the ground sheet that I used. Cut a piece of Tyvek out for the size underneath my tent. Use this for the entirety of the trip. I would probably go with the Dan Durston Specially Made one for it. It's just a lot more expensive, and this one wasn't that expensive. And this is pretty durable. It is a little heavier than I like it to be, but it's a very protective, and I really liked it and don't regret bringing this at all. So Tyvek's a great ground sheet. I should use it on a couple of my tents that I have, so highly recommend Tyvek. So these are the trekking poles I used. This is a Black Diamond trail cork flip block ones. Flip blocks are plastic, and they're made of aluminum. I really like the cork handles. The trekking poles I was gonna take on this trip actually broke the weekend before I was gonna take them, which were Compradel ones. Get into that later, but so I was on the search for a brand new trekking pole to take, the week before, which was not great. So bought a few different ones to just look at them. The Lecky ones had really small grips. I really like the Black Diamond length of their grip. Their older poles had better grips, but compared to the other ones on the market, they actually have big enough grips to fit my hands, which was kind of one of the deciding factors. And I went with the aluminum ones just because I've had not as good experience with the carbon fiber ones in the past from them, and they're cheaper than the carbon fiber ones. So no, I really liked them. They made it through an entire trek. I did end up bending one of the sections, and I sent it a picture into Black Diamond on their warranty page, and they actually sent me a brand new pair. So can't complain. I'm pretty sure I also wore out the tips too by the end, but that's to be expected. Okay, a couple other pieces. So I originally took these gaiters from Ultra Gam, and I never actually really used them. They actually don't fit the Ultra shoes very well. I probably need to get Ultra specific gaiters for these to work, so I ended up leaving these at home after the first section. But I did take a couple knee braces, which I never did use, thankfully, but just like, you know, a couple standard athletic knee braces, nothing special. This one's like the copper fit one from Costco. This one's like a Futurio from like just my local pharmacy. So I've had knee injuries in the past, which is why I brought these, but I never had any issues with my knees to the point where I needed these. So, but I did bring them just in case. And I also brought a little Swedish cloth. So this is one from Gear Trade. I love Gear Trade. It's a local shop in Alberta. And this I would use to wipe down the inside of my tent in the morning from the condensation. And these aren't very heavy when wet, and they dry out really, really quickly. So these are great and I love them. Next we're gonna talk about sleep clothes. So I would change out of these clothes after I get into my tent, and I would put on my clothes to sleep in. So first of all, I have my -33 merino wool toque. Really like this toque, and what's nice about this one is it's nice and long, so it will actually go over my eyes, which is nice. So there's that. For sleep socks, I was using the Fox River liner socks, and the reason why I had these is because I actually originally brought these to hike in inside my other socks, you know, to prevent blisters, and I actually ended up just using these as sleep socks. They're super lightweight. They allow your feet to kind of breathe, which is nice. They don't really add a ton for warmth, but you know, summer, so I wasn't overly worried about that. But yeah, so nice like lightweight pair of liner socks. That's what I use to sleep in. For a top base layer, Outdoor Vitals Turn hoodie. It's a really lightweight merino hoodie, not durable enough to hike in my opinion, in the Canadian Rockies, but great sleep piece. And yeah, just really like this hoodie. On the bottom, just like a Paradox Merino Blend Costco long johns. So I was wearing, and for the first part of the trip, this is all I would wear on the bottom. And then partway into the trip, I decided to throw in my Decathlon cheap fleece pants, like 20 bucks or something, 25 bucks. So these are great. They're super lightweight. They're pretty inexpensive, and they add a little bit of warmth to the legs. So, and I am a cold sleeper, so these were nice to have. Another piece of gear that I didn't originally pack or plan to bring was gloves, which I did regret after a bit, but I did end up picking up a pair of these Outdoor Research gloves, and I really liked hiking in these in the early mornings, which was really nice because they just keep your hands warm. So that's a bonus, but also they, I would wear these under my rain mitts if it did start to rain, because one thing that I ran into with the freezing rain is my fingers got really, really cold. So definitely would take these again if I were to hike the trail again. So yeah, good addition. All right, now I want to talk about rain mitts. So I brought these 4-class like Decathlon rain mitts. They're supposed to be waterproof. They're not waterproof. The water would pool in them for me, I found. And the day that I was hiking in freezing rain, my hands got really, really cold in them. And they were obviously better than not having rain mitts. So I still ended up like bringing these. Well, that brings us to the end of the gear that I used on the Great Divide Trail. And thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. We're gonna be going through my Great Divide stuff. About 25 inches wide. This thing's pretty light at a weight I do not know. This is why we need the weigh scale, folks. Sorry to the editor, which is me. This pack is super lightweight, all right? Stupidly lightweight, okay, anyway. It would rub on me and cause a lot of issues. Oh, good night, quit talking. And now it's raining. Come on. Seriously? What? We'll be back after it stops raining, folks. Awesome. On this one, why did I just belch in the middle of the video? Okay. What to do is that would rub against my back. I'm not even wearing the right footwear. Come on. The trip with this pack was take my 1-inch, 8-inch, blah, 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 blah. Now this pack is very light. Z-Pack arc, cut. to the Ventus over the, okay, starting over. So this is the Outdoor Vitals something or another hoodie. I want to eat. Nah, not really, I'm not even hungry. Okay. The Enlightened Equipment Torrid. Why? Public land abuse zone. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do a video of my top 8. What are the top 8 again? From my Great Divide Trail thru hike of 2020. For the tent stakes on this trip, I already chose them. They're the chosen ones. All right, the trekking poles I used on my Great Divide Seriously, people, I'm trying to film.